Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another album of the week. This is episode number 134, and today I'm finally getting around to covering pretty much again a month after its 30th anniversary. It is none other than No More Tears, the 6th studio album from Ozzy Osbourne, and still to this day is considered one of his most it is considered one of his most popular albums. It's sold like gangbusters, basically. Yeah, I mean, most of his albums, pretty much up to this point, were still pretty big sellers for him. But this one, I think, since at times maybe Bark at the Moon was probably one of his most best-selling albums. And again, the album itself, I got a lot of nostalgic memories for, and I'll get to that. Still, though, I guess without further ado, let me get into at least to just talking about No More Tears and everything. At least what was just through at least a more of a scope, I guess you can say, slightly, I guess, speed run it, the sort of the history prior to everything up to at least to No More Tears, because this follows again not just the short live release, Just Say Ozzy, but it does follow 1988's No Rest for the Wicked, which introduced the world to, of course, Zakk Wylde. And it from there on, I guess you can say Zakk Wylde might have been one of the probably the most longest guitar player to ever at least be with Ozzy, because again, it was unfortunate what happened with Randy Rhoads. Again, from there on, it was a revolving door, basically, at guitar players. From again, I kind of went through it. Again, from either Bernie Tormé to either was it Brad Gillis, I think was his name. Again, of Night Ranger. It just a lot of experiments with at least with guitar players to try and just really fill out and get done the tour for at least Diary of a Madman. And so finally when he opted with Jakey Lee, at least lasted for at least pretty much for 2 albums there. Again, Bark at the Moon and The Ultimate Sin. And then I guess whatever issues was arranged between Jakey Lee and Ozzy. Again, it was obviously Sharon was one that gave him his walking papers. So from there, it was up in the air who was going to be the newest guitar player for Ozzy. Well, when this young kid, I guess Zakk Wylde, came into the picture, I don't think anybody really expected him to last as long as he did. Sure, he might have been at times in and out of the band, but he still was at least was a part of more albums than any of the fucking guys that had ever, at least guitar players, was ever in Ozzy. Zakk Wylde was the one that's probably lasted the longest of any of them. And I know some people are rolling their eyes at that, but you kind of have to at least add kudos to Zakk Wylde to probably be able to be one to actually put up with Ozzy and Sharon's, I guess you can say, weirdness. I guess when it comes to the overall lineups or just their overall, what their idea of what a lineup is for a band. So I guess you can say Zakk Wylde, again, kudos to him. But No More Tears was pretty much his 2nd studio album with Ozzy, and it was probably his biggest effort ever, because this is one that probably made Zakk Wylde the most money. It really gave him the most recognition as in terms of within the mainstream eye. This it really spearheaded him into the mainstream, which led to obviously when he obviously outside of Ozzy to be comfortable on really forming Black Label Society. So there you go. It did something for Zakk Wylde. But it all started, in a way, all that stardom really began with this album right here. Again, I know some would say, well, again, No Rest for the Wicked, but this was the biggest selling album, and it actually is one that gave Zakk Wylde the overall, the ambition, I guess you can say, because of the mainstream coverage around this album. So without further ado, let me get into, of course, the 6th studio album from Ozzy Osbourne. So, No More Tears. The recording process for the album basically all began pretty much a year after No Rest for the Wicked was released. So 1989 through at least 1991, all recording at least the A&M Studios and Devonshire Studios in Los Angeles, California. And of course with producers Dwayne Barron and John Purtle. So this all, again, the production for the sound began from 1989 to at least 1991. Eventually, the album did get released through Epic Records on September 17th of 1991. And again, you can say it just launched really Zakk Wylde into superstardom as a guitar player. But at least intact, we got here on the lineup here is again back in the band Bob Daisley, because for a while there he was somewhat replaced by, well, Ozzy Osbourne's former member in Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler. And that only lasted for at least that tour until, I guess, whatever, coaxed Bob Daisley to come back to Ozzy. We still got Randy Castillo on drums, who also debuted on The Ultimate Sin. So this would be his third offering with Ozzy Osbourne. But we also at least have John Sinclair on keyboards for this album, who again debuted on No Rest for the Wicked alongside Zakk Wylde. So pretty much this is your lineup here. So Ozzy, Zakk, Randy, John, and Bob are pretty much the lineup for this album. And so as far as the songs we got for here, well, we got at least 11 songs here, and all clocks in at 57 minutes and 2 seconds. So these 11 songs are beginning with Mr. Tinker Train, I Don't Want to Change the World. Of course, these probably one of the biggest hits off this one, Mama, I'm Coming Home, which was a co-collaboration with Lemmy and Ozzy, and of course Zakk. But Lemmy, of course, had a writing credits on this one, and I Don't Want to Change the World. Desire, the title track, S.I.N., also known as Apparently Won't Be Coming Home, which is its original demo title. Of course, the other really big hit off this one, Hellraiser, which I'll get into, the sort of other sort of history or story, I guess you can say, maybe behind this one. I don't know. We'll see. Time After Time, which is not a cover, Zombie Stomp, AVH, and then finally ending with Road to Nowhere. So there's your 11 songs. And again, where do I really... sorry, I burped there. Where do I really begin to... with this album? Boy, I have no clue where to completely begin, other than I can probably just go off my overall memories of this album, because again, you probably don't need to really hear me really do a absolute review of this one and just completely go through each song. Instead, I think what you just need is basically my overall memory of living with this album and just growing up with it, because basically this is one of the earliest Ozzy albums I ever heard. Actually, you can say this might have been the first real Ozzy album I ever heard, because of this. The closest I ever got to really hearing any of at least the stuff with Randy Rhoads or even J.K. Lee was that Ozmith Cometh compilation album, which again, that's also the first time I ever got any taste of Black Sabbath, because it contained those really early demo songs for like the song Black Sabbath and War Pigs. So that's how I heard Black Sabbath too. But the first real studio album I heard from Ozzy, it was this one. And again, I was just a fan. I guess you can say I was just made a fan. I guess I know a lot who are diehard Ozzy fans who just love the Randy Rhoads albums, or might be at times very lukewarm on this one. But this was the album that really turned me on to Ozzy and Black Sabbath. So I've got a lot of a very nostalgic relationship with this one. It's it very much hits home because it really brings me back to a time in my childhood. So songs like Mr. Tinker Train and I Don't Want to Change the World and Desire, the title track, of course, the song Hellraiser, Zombie Stomp, AVH, and Road to Nowhere all fucking they all bring back a lot of nostalgic memories for me. I can listen to these songs almost all day half the time. Again, they are just overall favorites of mine. They're also some of the to me, really one of the best songs off this album. They're just straight up, they're standard Ozzy rockers, but at the same time, they all got an undeniable hook behind them. They're fucking catchy, and again, they do have them sing along choruses, but it has the hooks that I think a lot of any sort of the classic Ozzy songs pretty much all contain. That's all they got here. It's hooks. I love No Rest for the Wicked, but I think in comparison, this one probably has the most catchiest hooks, at least compared to No Rest for the Wicked. I mean, again, you can't deny the fucking hooks to at least a song like I Don't Want to Change the World or Desire, and SIN, or even Hellraiser, Zombie Stomp, AVH. They all got a fucking undeniable hook to them, and they're all just backed by, again, huge production job, which who doesn't get much credit, even though he mixed it, and I wish he actually got for producing it, because of I feel like he almost might have been an uncredited producer on here, but it's Michael Wagner. He is only credited as being the mixer on this album, but I feel like he really produced this one, because of the production on here is no different than, let's say, the production on like any of his stuff for like either Balls to the Wall from Accept or Slave to the Grind from Skid Row, which also was released the same year. So he's got or even what is it? Raise Your Fist and Yell from Alice Cooper. His production is really I almost feel like he might have been an uncredited producer, because of this is almost his production. Even though, again, the guys who do get the credits for being the producer are I guess there might be some similarities maybe there, but I just feel like Michael Wagner might have produced this one and he didn't get the credit. Instead, he just got credit for mixing, because of again, the production work sounds no different from those, and it's why the album comes off also still relatively heavy. Just all fucking solid shit on this album. Of course, there's always, again, the noteworthy songs like Mama, I'm Coming Home. They're all fine. They're okay. Again, the ballad stuff, they're fine. The title track is fine, too. Again, it's a very interesting track. I do dig it. Again, even itself, it's got a hook to it, but at the same time, there's very much a very dark sort of very brooding mood going on to the song, and it's really, again, it's one of those that I feel it works to the song's advantage. And it's probably one of the most, I guess, interesting songs off this one, too. Because of it's probably, it's not nearly, I don't want to try and compare it to Diary of a Madman, the song itself, off the aforementioned album. But at the same time, there is definitely that sort of similar sort of quirks that Ozzy kind of did or pulled with a song like Diary of a Madman, that he kind of, again, brings into at least No More Tears on this one. But at the same time, it doesn't have the sort of dark and spookiness, and I think a song like Diary of a Madman had. But that's probably also due to the fact of Zakk Wylde is a much more different guitar player compared to at least the late Randy Rhoads. So it's very much different, but it works to the song's advantage, because it's not about a very creepy tale of at least somebody is going out of his mind. Instead, it's more so, it's a little more somber in a way, but it's done in a way that it's not trying to be like a really dark ballad. It's just more of a very moody and sort of brooding kind of slow track, and it's got a really heavy hook to it, a riff to it. It's all got even at times a little bit of a groove to there, and it's just a fucking cool song. I do actually like this song a lot. But of course, I do have to definitely mention Hellraiser. Again, this is actually a collaboration again between Lemmy and Ozzy. And with this song, what's interesting is that not just did Lemmy really help write this song for Ozzy and had Ozzy record his own version, but a year after this album, Lemmy pretty much releases basically his own version of this song onto March or Die. And when it came to at least for the Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth, I guess there was some talks. I don't know what. I don't think there was any sort of idea. I'm not sure if there was talks on basically having Clive Barker asking Ozzy to use his version. But I think when it came to Motorhead, eventually, of course, Hellraiser, again, the Motorhead version of Hellraiser did get used, but there was never really the initial idea for the Motorhead version of Hellraiser to be used in the actual movie, or at least as the big hit for at least the Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth film. Instead, it was going to be the song Hell on Earth, which was, I think, recorded during the sessions of March or Die. But eventually, it did get put onto the soundtrack for the album, and has basically been stayed on the soundtrack for since at least its release in 1993. If I'm not mistaken, or it could have been 1992, but I think it was 93 when Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth came out. But that song has only stayed on that soundtrack CD for a long time. It's never been used as like a bonus track or something for like March or Die. So that's the only way you can get that song. Still though, again, I just felt like not really mentioning that. But again, it's just really interesting. Of course, as part of the 30th anniversary digital edition of No More Tears, they did something interesting with the song where they decided to splice basically Lemmy's stuff from at least his recording for the song Hellraiser that was released on March or Die, but spliced it and mixed it as part of a newer version with Ozzy's song off of this one. And it's really interesting actually hearing that and what they did with it. It's so fucking interesting, but at the same time, I think it's kind of cool to hear, again, both Ozzy and Lemmy actually singing not just the fucking ballad that was recorded for March or Die, but actually a straight up rocker. And it works. They made it work, and it sounds great. So it's a trip to hear. So I definitely, if you haven't heard the new version of Hellraiser with Lemmy's vocals added into the song, basically just singing along with Ozzy, check it out. It's quite an interesting thing that they did, and they pulled it off fucking goddamn seamlessly. It's great. So really, there's just not really any bad song. Again, this was always a favorite to throw out to at least in the on family trips in the car, basically, when I was growing up. This was always requested to throw on into the CD player when either taking trips to either Universal Studios in LA and Disneyland and those all those amusement park trips, and even on to like either baseball games, again, where they're driving on to, like, for example, in San Francisco and whatnot. It was always cool. So it was, again, that's what reason why I got such a memories of this album, and why I've grown why the relationship between me and this album is so kind of, again, it's why it is so nostalgic, because again, it makes me remember a lot of those really long car trips, and it always was great to listen to. But I want to also bring up other things, is that prior to this album, even though there was at least 11 songs thrown onto this album, there were at least 12 songs recorded, I think, for this album, basically, because of 2 songs didn't make the cut, but they were used as either B-sides or were thrown onto at least a movie soundtrack, or even into the movie itself. Don't Blame Me, which is a underrated fucking rocker, was thrown as a B-side onto the song, Well, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Whereas the song Party with the Animals, another fucking underrated hard rocker, was thrown onto the B-side for the song No More Tears, but eventually a year later was thrown on into the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Christy Swanson, Luke Perry, Paul Rubens, and Rutger Hauer. It was, again, thrown in, you can hear it in the film, even David Arquette was even in the film. But Party with the Animals, you can hear, and it's like last fucking scene at the dance part where everything's just going on the hell. Everyone's fighting for each other. The fucking, again, the scene where, again, it's David Arquette and Luke Perry just fighting each other. You can hear Party with the Animals being played in the background, and actually Slash actually makes an appearance into at least this scene in the film. But you can hear it playing in the background. I think afterwards, too, you hear the collaboration between Rob Halford and Pantera. But that's where the song is, you can hear it, and it was thrown onto the soundtrack for the film. So that's always kind of cool. It was fucking cool. But it is probably one of the most, I almost wished it was thrown onto the album itself. Again, I think both Don't Blame Me and Party with the Animals are fucking great rockers in their own right and are easily just as strong as anything else that was on the album. So they're all fucking great. Pretty much, again, I pretty much love this album all the way through. So that's why I definitely wanted to at least do a Album of the Week episode on this one. But just like, I didn't really figure out where I could actually fit this album in terms of my weeks, or at least within. So basically, I think it was great for now, for this episode, to actually do a focus on No More Tears. So it's a great album from beginning to end. Again, it's already reached its, 30th anniversary. If you have any sort of memories of this album, whether it be positive or negative, you can throw them into the comment section below. But if you've never heard No More Tears, again, it's one of the biggest selling albums of Ozzy. I mean, let's actually look through at least the Billboard charting for this album, where it charted. I mean, in the United States for the Billboard 200, it reached at the number 7 position. On the Norwegian album charts, it positioned at number 12. On the UK album charts, it positioned at number 17. Same thing for the RPM 100 albums in Canada, it positioned at number 17. On the German album charts, it charted at number 24. The Swedish album charts, it charted at number 25. The Swiss album top 100, it charted at number, number 37. On the Australian album charts, it charted at number 49. And that's all within the year of 1991 when it was released. A year later, on the New Zealand album charts, it charted at number 12. Of course, on the Dutch mega charts, on the same year of 1992, it positioned at number 67. But you can see it. The highest it's ever been was here in the United States on the Billboard 200, and it positioned at number 7. And where is it? Again, and it reached gold on the Australia RAIA. It reached 2 times platinum on in Canada. I know I'm kind of struggling a little bit there because in Australia it sold over 35,000. In Canada it sold over 200,000. In Japan on the RIAJ it reached gold, and because of it sold 100,000 in Japan. And of course here in the United States it reached 4 times platinum because it sold over pretty much 4,100 basically. So fucking a lot. It's one of his biggest selling albums. So if you've never heard this album and you're one of those who's always big into really check out some of the biggest releases from everyone, because if you're that kind of individual, I don't know why you wouldn't have probably heard No More Tears. You might have been living under a rock, or you probably haven't been paying much attention. It's his biggest selling album, along with albums like Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, even at times there, Bark at the Moon. It's a big selling album for him, so I can't see you not having the sort of ambition to check out No More Tears. So there we go. With that, hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrash saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.